Today I'm heading to the Met to see the Adoration of the Kings print that I've been working on. And be sure to stick around for the second half of the video. I'll be printing another batch using oil-based pigment and comparing it to the Mokuhanga style. But first, I have to take the 1 train and head downtown to 86th Street. I have to walk across town to the Upper East Side. It's a nice walk through Central Park. Finally, I've arrived at the Met just as it opened at 10 a.m. My meeting is at 10:30 at the Drawing and Prints library. I'm 30 minutes early, so I decided to visit some old European friends, like Van Gogh, Seurat, Monet, Cézanne, Turner, and Corot. If you're going to visit the Met, I'd recommend getting there early so you can get some one-on-one time with your favorite works before the masses arrive. Even the security guard is wondering where everybody is. Let's make our way over to the library. Upon arrival, I was greeted with the block and print of Samson rending the lion. This is an amazing woodcut where Samson, who is empowered by the Spirit of God, tears a lion apart with his bare hands, signifying his strength and often symbolizes the triumph of good over evil. It was hard to capture all the details of this block with my camera because it was so dark and I had no control over the lighting. He used pear wood, which is very hard, and he must have been using very sharp tools to cut these intricate lines, cross-hatching, and fine details. Here at the bottom of the block, you can make out his famous monogram. You can also see some damage in the lower left-hand corner of the block. I could learn so much from studying this block, but my time was limited, so I had to move on. Finally, I was able to view the Adoration of the Kings, a very small and very detailed woodcut by Dürer. This indeed is a woodcut, and it just shows you the skill of the artist and the craftsman of the time. Here is my print next to a second state of the same print. I believe this second state was a separate block carved after the original print because the line quality is not as good as the original and the image is slightly cropped on the right margin. Moving along, I also viewed some small passion woodcuts by Dürer. This series depicts the final days of Jesus Christ's life. The series consists of 36 woodcuts and was completed between 1509 and 1511. Here is another nativity scene from the Small Passion. Notice the dove in the sky carrying the message. A similar star in the upper right corner. And an interesting find, the D in his monogram is backwards. I'm not sure if this was intentional, but most likely was a mistake by Dürer himself or the carver. We know some carvings were done by Dürer himself, but we don't know how many woodcuts were carved by other craftsmen of the time. This still remains an open question and adds to the beauty and mystery that lives in these prints. Here is a copy of the Dürer original by Johann Momard. He copied all 36 designs of Dürer's Small Passion about 60 years after Dürer's death. Moving along onto the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse woodcut. This is by far my favorite design by Dürer. I love the drama of these 4 horsemen who represent death, pestilence, war, and famine, while the gates of hell are represented by the large serpent-looking creature in the lower left corner, gobbling up the bishop or king. The Apocalypse series was published by Dürer himself and was the first illustrated book ever published by an artist. Next, I wanted to compare the Drer Prints with a woodcut by Lucas Cranach the Elder titled The Crucifixion. This woodcut is absolutely amazing. Cranach has his own unique style and is absolutely on par with Dürer's woodcuts in my opinion. I was so inspired by sitting and spending time with these works. I'd recommend making an appointment yourself next time you visit the Met. Now let's get back home and start some more printing. So here I am back with the Dürer block. I recently washed it off with a good scrubbing of water and I made it as clean as possible because I am going to now print about 50 copies of this print using the traditional Western printmaking ink, which is oil-based. I figured it'd be interesting to see the difference between the oil-based pigment and the Mokuhanga style with the water-based pigment and we can compare and contrast the two. So I'm going to start inking this block. I'm going to use the same paper, which is the Gampi paper, which has a slight tone to it. But for this print, I did not size the Gampi. It's unsized, no glue in the paper. It's just the raw fibers, which does have some natural sizing in the fibers. When I'm inking this block, I'm not going for the first impressions. I'm not putting on tons of ink. I'm just going really thin layers. I don't want to jam up the small little holes and lines with too much pigment right off the bat. So I really rolled out this ink thinly on my palette before I apply it gently to the block. I'm just letting the roller do the work. Kind of going in a couple different directions. Better to build it up slowly, especially at the first impression. Trying to keep my pigment out of the Kento marks. I'm going to make sure I get this border. Now, let's see what this will look like. I'm going to go right for a good sheet of paper. I have confidence that this might put a thing over here. I have confidence that this is going to print well. So this is the same paper going down. I'm going to use a cover sheet. And I'm using the same Baron. I'm getting some resistance here. Need to change Barons here. Looking pretty good. I'm curious if this Baron, how this works. This has very small ball bearings and it's barely raised off the surface. So for a print like this, there's a lot of flat surface area to work on. It seems like it's working well. Also, this is a very thin paper, so it actually gets a really good impression. Because you can't push through thick paper with these tiny little ball bearings. So let's see what this looks like. There we have it. Wow. It's very crisp. Very clean. The edges and the carving. Wow. Wow, I can really see the carving and the lines and the quality of the cut in this. Huh, I just realized I think this area here in the roof is supposed to be cut away. Where's the original? No, it's in the original. Interesting. It is in the original. Wow, I really think this is very nice. Let's do another one. So I'm going to set these aside to dry. And I was thinking it would be a good idea to sell these as a pair. where you can get two prints, one with the Western printing, one with the Eastern printing, the oil-based and the water-based, side by side as an option, both on the same paper, both from the same block, just different printing methods. So again, we're rolling this on thinly to start. Kind of going in all directions here, making sure I evenly cover the surface with black ink. All right, that seems pretty good. Let's get another sheet. Again, this is the Gampi paper. It's a nice, smooth, thin paper. Let's see here. Let's see what this looks like. Wow, that's really nice. Let's grab one that's, wow, very different. It might have just been the water-based pigment and the way I sized the paper, but the lines are much thicker and not as precise. If you just look at the bird, for instance, the lines around the star, you can see the difference. Or in the facial features of the bearded man. Very different. This might not be a good impression though. Let's see. Let's grab another one. Yeah, this is on a better, that's a bad impression I was comparing to. Here's a good one. Here's a good one. Let's look at this one. So this is the oil-based pigment, and this is the Mokuhanga water-based pigment. Still, the lines are so much cleaner and more crisp with the oil-based pigment. You know, I've always had a hard time printing Sumi ink and key lines. They always print too wide, and I can never get it quite right. I've always struggled with that. Could also just be the quality of paper I was using, and my sizing may have been a little light. Maybe I needed some more alum in the paper. I mean, you can tell just around the star the difference. Look how dark this one is compared to this. The thickness of the lines. So anyways, we're going to continue with this oil. And it would be really interesting to send both of these to compare and contrast them together. So I'm just going to continue. I have about 40 of these to print, I think. Just get focused. And this Baron here seemed to be working perfect for this job, which I don't use that Baron too often. So this is a good application for it. Works great because the paper is so thin. And this surface, there's a lot of flat surface to work on. Here goes another one. This is the unsized Gampi. So when I put this in the registration, make sure that I got some pigment in my Kento area. So I just need to clean that. Wow, this really shows the carving better. The quality of lines. Well, thanks for following along. I'm going to end this video now.